Well, a very warm welcome to you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I, Prachinayal, your host MC, would like to welcome you all in the 16th edition of Renewable Energy India Expo, where we all together will be explicitly discussing about renewable energy. I feel humbled, honored to be the part of an incredible journey, and definitely it gives me an immense pleasure that I will be commencing this beautiful journey along with such empowering visionary people like you all. And before we all together proceed further, can we have applauses? Can we all together fill this room with some zeal and zest? Come on, can we have applauses? I know there are only few people, but still. Thank you. And the topic for today's session is Corporate Decarbonization, powered by Bridge to India Private Limited. I would like to invite and welcome the panelists as well as the moderator of the session. First, we have none other, Mr. Kiran, Perka, Head Open Access O2 Power. So can we have you on the stage, please? A very warm welcome with applauses. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, can we have applauses? And a very warm welcome to our second panelist, which is none other, Mr. Naresh, Baluja, Head BD and Chief Commercial Officer, ENGIE India. Can we have applauses? Come on, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Third, we have none other. Can we have applauses for Shiv Prakash Rai, Chief Revenue Officer and Head C&I Business MPIN Energy Transition. Sir, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for taking out your precious time. Can we have applauses, ladies and gentlemen? Now I would like to invite to none other our moderator of the session. Well, we have Mr. Mridul Chadha along with us, who is the moderator of the session, Associate Director, Consulting, Bridge to India. Can we have applauses? Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Sir, now I would like to hand over the mic to you so that you can facilitate this session. Thank you, everybody. Kindly be seated as well. Can we have applauses once again before we begin with the session? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So, we also had a consumer that we had invited. Unfortunately, they are not able to make it here. But I think we'll try to gain from the experiences all of these developers have had while engaging with the consumers and try to gain more insight about the consumer experience as well. So before I begin, I would just quickly like everyone to introduce themselves and tell something about their companies as well. Naresh, if you could start.
Yeah, thanks, Mridul. So Naresh Baluja, I've been part of ENGIE system for about 6 years now. I head business development as well as procurement and project development for the company. About ENGIE, we have been present in India in the renewable space since 2015 when we acquired Solar Direct. We are close to 1.2 gigawatts of installed operational capacity today and about a gigawatt under construction. Yep, this is briefly about ENGIE in India.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Yeah, I'm Shri Prakash, working in the capacity of Chief Revenue Officer for MPIN Energy Transition. So we started our operations in India in around 2016 with a very specific focus to provide renewable energy to the commercial and the industrial consumer. So as we speak, we have a balanced portfolio of around operational capacity of around 800 megawatt and around 1.5 gigawatt of capacity under construction, with our presence in both C&I and also in the utility part. So we have positioned ourselves as a balanced entity which caters to both utility as well as the C&I consumer, and we have positioned ourselves as a one-stop shop to provide the entire energy requirement for C&I consumers. Thank you.
Kiran.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. I'm Kiran Kumar, so heading the C&I Open Access vertical for O2 Power. So O2 Power is one of the fastest growing renewable energy platforms in India. So with it was established in 2020, early 2020, and within a span of 2 years, we could have a portfolio of operational capacity of around 800 megawatts, and also a strong pipeline of close to 2.5 gigawatts. which is going to be commissioned by March 2025. And we're providing solutions for C&I customers in couple of intra-states as well as on interstate basis. So we look forward for this interaction and discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you all. Now, corporate decarbonization is a very vast subject to be covered within an hour. We will therefore primarily focus on scope 2 emissions, that is related to power procurement. Kiran, I'll start with you. Now, an increasing number of corporates are looking to increase their renewable power procurement. Gone are the days when they would simply go for rooftop solar or sign a PPA for open access. Now there are additional requirements because they are signing up to frameworks like RE100, SBTi, etc. Now they are asking for additionality and lots of other things. Could you elaborate as to how things have changed with respect to consumer requirements and expectations?
So the consumers traditionally have been looking for the rooftop, like you said, rooftop solution as the immediate solution to meet their requirement. And then the open access came into picture. And even in open access, third party and group captive has been, scaling up drastically. So we could see like solar additions, in the country at the rate of 20% as compared to last year. So the installations have been increasing drastically. So apart from intrastate solutions, which has been picking up in the last recent years, now with the waivers, Ministry of Power are giving the waivers of interstate transmission charges. So the ISTS has become a new buzzword in the sector today. And there are customers like not only the large customers, steel customers and aluminum customers like Vedanta, ArcelorMittal. So even the smaller scale consumers like, Dr. Reddy Laboratories, who are operating small pharma plants across the country. So they are also looking for, and we have recently signed with them, and proud to say about that, on a cumulative basis, they have a portfolio of 20 megawatt RTC round the clock kind of a consumption spread across various states. So ISTS is the new thing, like new buzz happening, and consumers across the various sectors. So people are expecting the ISTS solution because that is the solution which is going to be the future solution in the country. In addition to that, storage is something people are expecting. Some of the consumers are, willing to explore, even though the cost is higher today. So they want a blended kind of a, solution, and are open to explore that opportunity as well. Because of various restrictions for solar or intrastate transactions, where the policy doesn't allow them to source in the peak hours. So they want to fill that gap with the storage solution also. So even though it may be little higher, but the blended cost may be still be cheaper than the grid cost. So it's great to hear that the corporate customers are openly and accepting the fact of the matter that the cost may be higher, but they still want to go for a maximum replacement of the renewable energy. So in addition to this physical power supply, so now consumers are coming for exploring virtual PPAs, RE attributes, kind of, RE in terms of IREX and REC certificates. So, and also even within the large, industries where they operate the transport facilities within their premises. So traditionally they used to use the diesel operated, trucks and all. Now they are converting into pure EV based trucks and all. So the consumer is looking for the new technology irrespective of the cost. So I think we should leverage this opportunity and explore as much as developers we can to help them reach the RE 100 goal and decarbonize at the maximum possible extent.
Thank you, Kiran. Shri Prakash, Kiran mentioned about VPPAs. I was planning to cover those at a later stage, but let's do that now. So VPPA, we have seen a couple of deals being done over the last few months or so. What is your view with respect to VPPAs? What is your outlook? As far as I could understand, it would never be a mainstream procurement route because of various challenges, but would like to know your thoughts as well.
Yeah, thanks for putting this up. As Kiran mentioned, usually for any corporate to achieve 100% RE, usually there are 4 steps. So one step is, maybe I'll start with step number 1, which is rooftop or behind the meter projects that they usually install. So it's a low hanging fruit. Does not depend much on the regulatory framework. And usually it's the, if any corporates decides to start renewable, that's the first step they do. The next step is the intrastate solar. So depending upon where they are present in the state, okay, and the regulatory framework of the state, whether they are allowing open access, whether they consider open access as captive, group captive, 26% equity portion. So customers try to adopt that. And from this particular concept, you usually tend to convert around about 50 to 60% of your conventional power from RE. Then the third step, which Kiran also mentioned about ISTS, yes, it is becoming a buzzword, but still we have not seen any physical delivery of power happening from the ISTS plant to the C&I consumers. So that we still need to see. Maybe it will take around 6 months to a year, because we envisage there might be some issue. First is on, since you are putting a power plant in one state and then the supply of power happening in some other states, there are a number of approvals which are required. And obviously how regulators have behaved in the intrastate segment, where you have the reference projects also available, but then also we find a lot of issues as far as the approvals are concerned. So maybe once the physical delivery of power starts happening, we'll see a lot of buzz on the real aspect on the ISTS part. Now, with all these 3, you actually do a physical consumption of power. But because of the regulatory hurdles that we have in our country, some 20-25% of the power requirement always will be left unattended to, which can be taken care through a concept called as VPPA, where you are actually not buying the physical power, but you are actually buying the IREX or the certificates. Okay, so there are certain industrial and commercial customers who have pledged to be a 100% RE by a specific time period, and they have actually exhausted all the avenues of physical power. So there they actually go ahead and do VPPAs. Okay, so there are various models in VPPA. The one is obviously you just sign for certificates, and the overall power that is being generated from a specific plant, it's the responsibility of developer to sell the power in exchange or through a bilateral mode, and it will be mainly sold as a brown power. And the entire risk of power evacuation and everything is on the developer part. The second option is obviously there is a price which has been agreed upon, which is a strike price, and the power gets sold in the exchange. Whatever price you get above the strike price, it's been passed on to the customer, and if there is any lower price also, it has been backstopped by the consumer. The third part is maybe to give some comfort to the consumer, there is a collar which has been put up. So maybe it's around 10% collar on a strike price. So between that, if at all the energy price which we are liquidating in the exchange, if it's fall within that collar, the benefit goes to the consumer, and if it is above collar, all the benefits goes to the power producer. And similarly, when the prices fall down also, this collar works in that same manner. So having said that, these are some of the concepts which are applicable, which are working on the ground. But what you readily said, in Indian context, as of now, most of the customers are looking at replacing physical power, because there the actual what you say, the actual joy of replacing conventional versus non-conventional. But yeah, some of the tech companies where the contract demand is lower, they are not in a position to consume a lot of physical power because of the contract demand restrictions. They are opting for this type of transactions, and also some of the pharma companies where they have actually signed the pledge. So VPPA is the mode to become 100% RE. As far as AMPIN is concerned, we are pretty happy. We are already offering, we already signed contracts for the VPPA with some of the consumers. So we see this thing will pick up. And obviously, as I mentioned, maybe in another 6 months to 8 months time, we will actually, there are 1 or 2 VPPA projects which have already started generating power. And maybe in next 6 months time, we'll find 3, 4 more projects coming in. So yeah, it is the flavor of the day, and most probably the DISCOMs, they will also be happy with VPPA because we are not actually, since we are not replacing physical power, we are putting more and more energy in the grid. There's an option available for DISCOM to buy from the grid as well. So we are not taking away any consumer from the DISCOM. So in fact, I see, if I look on the regulatory part and also on the DISCOM part, they will be more happy if VPPA gets adopted in India. So as AMPIN, we are quite gung-ho. We see it will become a preferred model going forward. Maybe it may take around another year or so to come up. Yeah, that's my view. Thanks.
Any view on the CFA issue that is still lingering? By what time you expect that to be solved?
CFA, in the sense you are talking about central financial assistance?
That would be, sorry, the strike price, CFD. Sorry, CFD.
Okay. Yeah. No, the strike price, anyhow, the strike price is the mutually agreed price, which is been bilaterally agreed upon by the developer and the consumer. And since we are actually going in exchange and selling it, so I don't see a regulator actually putting in any issue as far as the strike price is concerned. And when you are talking about contract for difference, yes, as of now, yes, you are correct. The actual contract for CFD is not been implemented, but yes, there is a clear-cut legal opinion which a lot of developers have taken whether CFD can be implemented. But yeah, in India, obviously, nobody wants to be a first mover as far as CFD is concerned, so they are still waiting for some companies to actually adopt and move forward, and then they will follow. But as far as the regulation is concerned and the legal part of it is concerned, CFD is absolutely clear.
Thanks. Naresh, we believe the market has completely moved to captive group captive, and within captive, one SPV, one consumer model. Now, consumers, developers, both are trying to future-proof their projects. Is there any change in the contractual structure itself, in the clauses itself, wherein the consumers are looking to future-proof their RE100 status? So again, I come back to additionality and the attributes, green ownership of green attributes. Are consumers more cautious now because they will eventually face a third-party audit for their RE100 framework? So are they asking for additional clauses in the contractual structure?
Sure. Thanks, Mridul. I think before I share my views on the evolution of the contractual structures, I think let's take a step back and talk about how customers' perspective is changing among this ever-evolving landscape. Now, what within ENGIE we say SSAC. So now, if you see energy security, sustainability, affordability, and then the commitment. So first 3 factors have to be in place, and then you talk about RE100 commitments. Right? So these are the fundamentals for this topic, let's say corporate decarbonization. Now, what's happening is that this market is evolving really fast. Each and every state had different set of customers and different kind of contracting schemes and structures with captive, group captive, etc. were adopted, and then finally industry pretty much, and you explained really well, industry pretty much narrowed down today to intrastate, group captive, so that this is the safest way for all of us. ISTS is yet to see the light of the day, and VPP, of course, as well. But a major shift that we have observed in the contracting scheme is very internationalization of contracts. You're seeing very standardization of contracts in terms of, a large tech company comes to India, they call a lot of people for an auction, and now suddenly that is becoming a basis contract. So we, as an industry, also are getting mature in terms of the risks that we can onboard and risks we cannot. So I would say the key change that has happened is internationalization of the contracts. And second point on attributes, yes, there are different contracting schemes depending on the needs and the commitments that a corporate has given. It could be a REC only deal. It could be a consumer coming to you asking to just set up a project for carbon offsets. It could be a greenwashing. So there's a very thin line between, again, those three factors aside, what is the commitment that they've given? I think these would be my views on how the contracting is evolving and what customers are preferring to do in terms of various contracting structures.
Very interesting. Kiran?
Yeah. I'll just like to add what Naresh has actually mentioned. So obviously, when you are talking about contractual structures, some of the organizations who are actually doing a contract to fulfill their net zero or 100% RE thing, there are certificates available in market, but they are not actually going and buying the certificates directly from the market just to ensure they don't become a part of a greenwashing as such. So just to ensure the certificates are coming from the projects which they are actually owning or which is under their control, even to fulfill their certificate requirements, they are supporting and signing a long-term PPA. And to ensure the sustainability program which they have signed off or which they are actually committed to their shareholders is actually been done through an actual project which is there on ground, and all the attributes which are being generated from this plant is actually been owned by them. So now the corporates are becoming more and more focused, and they also want to be sure from which specific plant these RE attributes are coming to them, and they have a better control over it. So these are the points which are there in the contracts now.
Okay. So just to clarify, consumers are looking for, even when they are buying certificates, they want to buy those from new projects, newly built projects, exclusively for them. Yeah. Okay. Kiran, so both Naresh and Shri Prakash mentioned that the consumer has matured a lot now. But we have seen several consumers, because the consumers who have adopted RE100 or other frameworks are still very less in number. We have seen several consumers who come to us, they want RE100 or increase their renewable power procurement, but somehow they are not asking the right questions or so. Is that a problem that you have also faced, hand-holding, capacity building? Is that something that you have to do apart from selling your products as well?
So today the consumers have become so mature that because they interact with a lot of developers, so they gain knowledge, they see a lot of perspectives each developer is coming from. Like, even the customer is more mature than the developer today. So I would put it that way. So yeah, hence, they are, willing to customize the contract as much as they can to secure all the, risks which they feel. They want to capture it in the contract, and they want to de-risk so that the contract is full watertight, and and de-risk every risk, and they want to pass on all the risks mostly to the developer. So consumers have become so mature enough today, and but I don't want to be mean to them, but again, like, they want to have a balanced contract as well, and it doesn't become too risky for the developer also, so that it end up not getting lending on the contract. So they want a very balanced, at the same time, de-risk as much as they can. At the same time, it doesn't risk the developer also in terms of implementation on the ground. So yeah.
Naresh, de-risking. So now the banking provisions are changing. Mostly we expect the banking to be allowed for monthly basis only. But there is no clarity on ISTS projects with respect to banking. How are developers like you are looking to de-risk with respect to ISTS projects and banking?
Yeah, I think my fellow panelists are more equipped to answer this because they are serving to the needs of the corporates. But at the same time, we, being a utility player right now, are branching away from a pure utility play to more of utility plus corporate play as more of a one-stop solution, as you mentioned in the beginning. But yes, from banking perspective, I would request my fellow panelists to talk about it. But from ISTS perspective, if you see, the changes which are happening today in the industry are the size of the project is increasing. A 50 megawatt or 100 megawatt, you never saw these kind of intrastate projects earlier. Now, so that you can go to interstate. ISTS charges waived out till, let's say, June 2025, right? So, of course, see a lot of ISTS projects coming up, not having seen the light of the day. Banking provisions are available, but would be challenging, as my fellow panelist also mentioned that. But on the banking side specifically, I would request my panelists to speak about it.
Shri Prakash?
Yeah. So, for renewable energy, banking obviously is a very important thing. So when we are talking about electricity in India is a concurrent subject, so you have a banking policy in one state which is entirely different from a banking policy. Let us assume, if at all I talk about banking in UP. Okay, so the policy actually talks about 100% banking is allowed and you can actually roll it over to 2 quarters. Okay, but when you actually see how it has been implemented on ground, so what they are actually mentioning is they will be giving only 25% banking. Okay, and yes, rollover period is for 2 quarters. And similarly, if you talk about states like Maharashtra and Gujarat, where there is a monthly settlement. So whatever power which you are actually selling to the customer, he has to consume within that particular month. And if at all he is not able to do it, the energy will get lapsed. Okay, but anyhow, most of the capacity estimations we are doing in states like Karnataka, Maharashtra and all, we are actually considering a monthly banking for intrastate thing, okay, because it gives comfort to the customer also. We don't want to be over-aggressive considering a 6 months banking, because we know going forward it will be a monthly banking, and maybe in due course of time, since we'll actually see once the ISTS physical delivery of power will start happening, whether that 15 minutes time block settlement is actually happening for C&I. Because as of now, the regulation is for all the ISTS power project, you have to settle in 15 minutes time block. Okay. And with this, there is one more thing which has come out, which we have seen almost from last 1 year, the customers talking about round-the-clock power. Okay. And round-the-clock power, obviously, there is thought processes, they will be able to replace 80 to 85% of power through RE. It is possible, yes. As of now, the commercial design is overloading more of wind, means it's a wind-dominated solar hybrid plant which has been put up, and where we can actually increase this UF. But point again is, since you are increasing the wind capacity, you are able to replace 85%, but in the 15 minutes time block basis, we are finding there is a lot of energy which is unused. Okay, for developer, again, the question is what he will be doing with that unused energy, because it is getting generated in every 15 minutes time block. So, and obviously it will be a captive arrangement where the customers are also been asked to put in equity. So if you actually look at the electricity rules, it mentions 51% power needs to be consumed. Okay, when you do a overall analysis, you will find in some of the cases, the unused energy is to the proportion of 35 to 40%. Okay, and if you think about a scenario where a plant has actually gone into a preventive maintenance, or there is a sudden breakdown, this 40% energy can actually increase, and it may actually lead to a situation where your captive status will be in danger. So although RTC is the requirement of the day, But yes, there are certain issues when you actually do a overall elaboration, because the option with developer is either to identify a new customer whose requirement is a lower CUF, or to sell that additional power in exchange, which might also lead to a challenge in project financing. Because when you are actually selling in exchange, it is not that you are getting a consistent revenue of that particular power over a long period of time. So the lending institutions also questions, I'll not be able to fund a project where 30 to 45% of the energy is being sold on the exchange basis, and I don't have a long-term tariff visibility. So these issues are there. It will come up in due course of time. Okay, and we'll also be able to see when we are, whatever calculations we are doing on Excel sheet in 15 minutes time block basis, whether it is actually been getting implemented when the physical delivery starts happening from the ISTS plant. So yeah, as a industry partner and working in renewable energy professionally from last 15 years or so in the C&I segment, I'm personally more inclined to see the success of ISTS, but these are some of the basic challenges which we see right now. And I'm not saying it will not be catered to, it will get catered to going forward. But yes, there will be some rationalization also will happen on the overall understanding what the customer want and what as a RE power we can actually give it, until unless we have a storage thing coming in with battery storage or pump hydro coming as an alternative source where the unused power can be utilized for charging of batteries. But still it needs to make commercial sense.
Kiran, back to de-risking now. RTC, ISTS projects, as you said, the demand is increasing, especially for very large consumers, steel makers, etc. Now, what will happen to the surplus power? Obviously, one option is that you sell on the exchange, but that exposes the developer to a lot of risk, which the funding agencies may frown upon. Then there is an option for storage. Battery is expensive, but there is PSP. But PSP has a very long gestation period. Now, if you could share what kind of solutions that a developer or a consumer together may come up with.
So, like just to add to what Sri Prakash has said, that there is surplus power in the ISTS transaction. I definitely agree with that. But in order to de-risk the transaction and the entire transaction, so we may have to design the project in such a way that the surplus in the initial phase should not exceed more than 20%. So we should not go aggressively on committing a higher CUF and end up burning the fingers at the later stage. Instead of that, we can restrict this surplus power as low as we can. So that is the first thing we need to do at the inception stage. So that and secondly, in terms of revenue realization for the surplus power, so we definitely have to the option is to sell on the power exchanges only, because we do not know in which time block how many megawatts is going to generate on a real-time basis to the most accurate at least 1 day in advance, not more than that. So but you cannot find a consumer who will be ready to offtake such intermittent power on every 15 minutes time block basis. So it has to be sold on power exchange. That's the only option which I could foresee based on our experience. And secondly, with respect to commercials, so we have to consider that that surplus power realization will not be more than 2 rupees. On a very conservative, we need to be a conservative on that front, so that we can load the impact of the differential realization on the tariff, so that it becomes a project which the lender, when he looks at the assumptions of the design of the project, so he will also get convinced, okay, I mean the revenue realization, the differential revelation is being loaded on the tariff, so that the project becomes viable on a long run. So that's how you can de-risk the ISTS transaction.
But what you explained is quite complex. I doubt any. I think most of the consumers would be appreciative of the fact of the kind of risk that developers would be exposed to.
So in fact, we as a developer, we have taken couple of opinions from couple of big four companies to analyze what could be the realization of the surplus power. So we have done that analysis, and then we are offering this ISTS proposals in practically, and we have signed couple of ISTS transactions in reality, and we are going to deliver by end of this year also. So that sooner it's going to be light of the day. We can see that very soon.
Good to know. Good. Naresh, you have had experience in the international markets as well. The Indian consumer, as we see, I may be wrong, but is still focused on renewable power and not renewable heat or other aspects. The process changes, scope 1, now we have digressed to scope 1. Are you seeing any demand, any interest from consumers looking for renewable heat or changes in their processes to enhance energy efficiency, who are coming to you? Because from a consumer point of view, they would not want to deal with multiple vendors for the energy requirements.
Indeed. Thanks for that, Mridul. So I'll just split it up into two parts. One is the renewable part, being our international experience, and Shri Prakash rightly mentioned about the virtual PPAs. So today we are world's largest provider of virtual PPAs. Last year we supplied over 1.1 gigawatts of only virtual PPAs to all the large tech companies, GAFAs of the world, all in the public domain, right? But then there are GAFAs who are okay with virtual PPAs. Virtual PPAs, and Kiran was also mentioning a very important point. You sell it on an exchange. You have an assumption in your financial model, 2 rupees, for example. It's just on an Excel sheet. We don't know whether you'll realize it or not, right? So energy markets have to really evolve when it comes to virtual PPAs. The liquidity has to increase for us to make a bankable case, which is not the case today. Risk sharing mechanism needs to be appropriate. But coming back to the second part of the discussion on whether corporates are coming to us only for renewable power or a wider solution. So what we have observed lately, last 6 to 9 months, especially for Indian market, is that large tech customers or manufacturers, global manufacturers who have manufacturing setups in India, they're coming to companies like us with our global relationships and asking for a partnership on decarbonization. When I say partnership, what they want us to do is help them lay out the roadmap, how they can completely decarbonize themselves, to not only lay the roadmap, but also help them with implementation of that roadmap until the delivery. So, for example, green steel, alternate fuels you're talking about, green hydrogen you're talking about. Then you're talking about other ancillary products as well, biomethane, for example. They're looking at a complete decarbonization partnership now rather than a standalone solar, wind, or RTC project. RTC, of course, is part of the larger solution, right? They have to follow the curve so as to reduce the requirement. But at the same time, yes, a lot of international companies, manufacturers showing a lot of interest in having a partnership on a wider decarbonization topic rather than just buying power.
Shri Prakash, what has been your experience? Has a consumer come to you, okay, power is fine, you are giving power, but I want A, B, C as well with it because I want a larger decarbonization effort on my side?
So for us, the focus remains renewable power. So we do partner with the customer, mentioning we can take you to 100% RE, but our services will be restricted to the conventional versus non-conventional power. So as of now, as a company, our focus is to give renewable energy power to the consumer. So yes, they do talk about the process optimization and all that, but since we don't have an expertise in that, so we restrict ourselves only to the RE power.
Kiran, what has been your experience apart from solar and wind? Are consumers looking at other renewable fuels, for example, bioenergy, biomass, because that eventually leads to green hydrogen as well? So any experience that you have had with consumers?
So, so like I said, consumers are exploring, EV infrastructure within the premises to the extent whatever is possible. Secondly, some are trying to have a, biomass, small biomass kind of a, plant within the, premises, so that, they can meet to, to some extent what they can. And thirdly, now consumers have started exploring the battery storage also. So which they are willing to pay slightly higher tariff with a blended combination of solar, along with solar, and they are willing to pay slightly higher tariff, because there are a lot of MNCs, data centers who are already operative, in other countries, and already using the battery storage technology over there. So they want to implement, do pilots projects in India. So they are open for that. And apart from that, they want to now cut down the scope 1 and, scope 2 emissions also. I think it is too early now, but yes, the approach has started now. That I can say, yeah.
You want to add?
If I may
Sure.
just add a couple of points, I'll give you a live example. So a couple of months ago, we were talking to a large customer of ours, and the requirement that the customer came up with was very interesting. One, of course, they wanted renewable power, no doubt about it. Then set up a carbon offset project for them. They also wanted to have a boundary line greenwashing, okay? And then also do a REC only deal with them, right? Improve their energy, propose a plan for energy efficiency improvement. This shows that they were also serious about decarbonization, and implement that. So these were the 4 bouquet of services that they wanted to have, rather than only the renewable power component.
Very interesting. Shri Prakash, you mentioned when we were discussing VPPAs that it is usually suitable for a very specific set of consumers who may have distributed consumption centers, and where regulatory frameworks may not allow for conventional PPAs. There is another set of consumers like oil marketing companies or banks who have very small consumption centers distributed across the country. Now they are also looking to decarbonize or increase their renewable power procurement. What kind of business models or technology configurations would be most suitable for such consumers? We have also seen in the Ministry of Power consumer rules that now the open access eligibility criteria has been reduced to 100 kilowatt, and even for 100 kilowatt, you can aggregate your demand if you are located within a particular discom, and then you are eligible for open access. Any new kind of offerings that you are working on or have seen in the market for such small and distributed consumption centers?
So, it's good that you brought up this question, because yes, Ministry of Power through the Green Open Access regulations, they have recommended it, and they have been very clear about it, how they want it to be implemented. But as we speak, I think there are at least 3 or 4 states where it has been implemented, and still we see they're still on the charges part and all that, they're still not very clear. So I think to actually see it implemented across state will take some more time. So when you're talking about 100 kilowatt contract demand requirement, which was earlier, it was 1 megawatt or an HT consumer, now it has been decreased to 100 kilowatt peak and all. So we still have to see whether it is being adopted by the states and it is getting implemented, because at the end of the day, one important point is if you are having a 100 kilowatt contract demand, okay, So one important thing is you need to have the ABT meter installed at your location. Okay, so that also has a capital cost. So important point is if you have a lower contract demand but higher consumption, and the ABT meter installation cost and everything can be, it makes financial sense to install. As a developer, we'll be more than happy, because anyhow for us to identify any consumer who is eligible to take open access, as of now the thought process is at least it has to be a 1 megawatt of contract demand and an HT consumer. So this is the preliminary requirement that we as a developer envisage, but will be absolutely fine if that gets implemented in the state and we can actually aggregate and supply to, through a plant which has been put outside the plant premises. Having said that, for the consumers who are having mainly like data centers or the customers in malls who are having the commercial establishments where the contract demand is less and it is segmented and distributed across India, the virtual power purchase VPPA thing works out very well, because then they are able to offset their conventional energy demand through the certificates that they are getting out of it. And in fact, if they get into the energy procurement mode, which is the CFD thing, there is also a very strong likelihood they can be 100% RE without having to shell out money, because there can be a situation looking at the energy prices in the exchange, they can actually make money by selling power in the exchange, and the certificates which they are getting maybe can be free of cost. So people are contemplating, but if you actually see the Indian corporates, the companies who've been developed and groomed in India, owned with Indian promoters, the thought process is let's go and implement the capacities at a point till the physical replacement is possible, because of the savings which comes with sustainability. Okay, the savings is an important aspect right now as we speak. So that's why if you actually see this VPPA thing is mainly been adopted by MNCs or some of the very, very forward-looking Indian enterprises. And mainly it's happening in the pharma segment because of a lot of exports that they do to the European nations and all. So they are adopting it, but yeah, going forward, maybe in another 2 to 3 years time, we'll see a lot of adoption on VPPA for commercial customers or for the customers where they have a fragmented presence across India.
Or they are ineligible for open access because they don't have a meter directly with the DISCOM.
Mridul, I want to add one point to, on this category of customers. So recently, like, I have interacted with one of towers, operating companies who have like 3 to 4 lakhs of towers operating across India. So they've come to us and asking for a renewable solution. And each location is hardly like 20 kilowatt, 50 kilowatt, not more than that. So we are saying that, we need to 100% RE solution. Please tell us what to do. So obviously, I mean, there is no immediate solution for that, but we need to come up with some kind of innovative solution to, meet, this category of customers also. Because if you see on a pan-India basis, they have a large consumption of maybe around 200 to 300 million units per annum. So, if they are coming up, voluntarily to decarbonize themselves, so one thought which came to my mind was, so today all the distribution companies, some of the distribution companies are offering a special tariff called green tariff with an additional cost over and above whatever is the regular tariff. So obviously they are charging additional charge because they have to procure additional power, renewable energy, over and above their renewable power targets, right? So instead of doing that, which is the additional burden for the customer, over and above paying something, it is close to 1 rupee additional, per unit. So instead of going with that kind of a thought process, we can propose a model saying that, we'll develop project for these kind of customers, who can, basically we supply to Discom and Discom supply to these kind of customers, and we can pay some premium or a facilitation fee to the Discom, so that it becomes a win-win solution for all the stakeholders. So to the developer, to the consumer, and to the distribution company also. So that it becomes cheaper as well as greener. So that's what I wanted to share.
So what you described is, I think, what sleeved PPA or subscription-based PPA is practiced in developed markets. The green tariffs that you mentioned, my question regarding matureness in consumers was bent towards the green tariffs itself. We had a client who was buying green tariffs for one of its manufacturing units. It was RE 100% renewable power based on green tariffs. But as you mentioned, the Discoms anywhere in India right now are not buying the incremental renewable power to supply at the green tariff. There is no fresh procurement by Discoms. And international frameworks like RE 100 do not recognize that sort of green tariffs as renewable power, because the consumer actually does not have control or ownership of the attributes. So in some states they allow up to the RPO mandate only, but what if the consumer does not have an RPO mandate? It has no ownership of the green attributes.
So, I mean, why do we have to assume that Discom is not doing anything, in spite of supplying at a greener tariff? So they might be, they may not be adding new PPAs as a physical power. They might be purchasing REC certificates on their behalf, or they may utilize the existing PPA power purchase to these customers, and their obligation they might purchase RECs and contribute for to meet both the demands, including their own obligation as well as the customer's green obligation. Because I definitely feel that the Discoms are accountable, right? They have to submit their yearly submissions, RPO obligations, and everything to the commission. So I think they must be definitely taking care of this gap by purchasing RECs, or maybe short term. Even today, the distribution companies are coming up with the short term RE purchase on a monthly basis. So it may be for meeting the short term requirements, like fulfilling the green power, green tariff, customers who are exploring or using the green tariff option.
Yeah, that is the right approach to do that. Yeah. But unfortunately, most of the Discoms that are offering green tariffs are not fulfilling their own RPOs. Yeah. Yeah. So we discussed that ISTS is yet to take off. Naresh, if you could just list out 2-3 things that you see should happen for ISTS to become a very large market over the next few years. What are the hurdles that you want to be addressed?
One thing that comes to the top of my mind on the biggest hurdle is lack of clarity on the waiver of charges. We know that 2025 and what will happen until 2028 when the entire waiver goes off. But industry, I think, needs more support in terms of that for ISTS to really pick up and see the light of the day. Of course, we have had some plants which are going to come up very soon online. And this is something which is extremely important, is what comes on top of my head. Another aspect that we believe is important from customers' perspective, especially those who are connected on the ISTS network, is increased liquidity in the markets. Because today what we are talking about is, again, making assumptions on an Excel sheet, but at the end of the day, when the demand of the customer is as moving from a plain vanilla solar or a wind project to more of a load following RTC, and there is curtailment happening with multiple 15-minute block intervals, you need to have some visibility on the pricing that you'll be able to get on an exchange. So increased liquidity is important. Now, how will that liquidity increase? I mean, all the developers like us eventually will be participating through the ISTS network, wherein you can put the power in exchange. The products on the VPPA, honestly, is something that we believe if you have the right product in the market, it's a vicious circle. So if there is a right product, you will set up projects, you'll have the clients signing up for virtual PPAs, and then the markets will evolve. India as a nation, we are still a developing country in terms of general economic growth as well as the electricity markets. You see Australia, for example, 100% merchant market, 90% virtual PPAs. Now, they are connected to the central grid again, and you have enough liquidity in the market. I think these are the 2-3 thoughts that come to my mind should be addressed for ISTS level corporate renewable energy procurement to improve.
Shri Prakash, same question, but I would also like to add that we have seen several STU connected consumers, large consumers, now looking to connect at CTU to take power from ISTS projects. Do you see demand coming from STU only, or you see consumers below that level as well looking to tap the ISTS route?
So while we make a pitch to the consumer and during our interaction also, our suggestion is always, if at all you are present in a state where the intrastate open access policy is clear, robust, and there are reference projects available, it is always better to go for intrastate first, because that gives you first flexibility of banking. Okay, and since you are there in that specific state, you are putting a plant in that state, obviously there is a contribution you are making to that state economy. Okay, so both on the commercial part and also on the obligation part, it makes sense for a customer to first adopt for the intrastate thing. Okay, and then if at all there is an addition, because for as we speak, the requirement for any customer is maximum replacement of conventional power through RE. And for that specific reason, RTC higher SUF thing has come in, where customer are looking, if at all I can replace 80 to 85%, 90% of my conventional power. But obviously, since we are talking about 15 minutes time block, it is important banking should be there, which is there in the intrastate thing. So first adopt intrastate, and then the remaining capacity anyhow can be taken care through the ISTS connected plant. So we, as far as our customer pipelines is concerned and our interaction is with the customers are concerned, they are absolutely fine to first adopt intra and then go for inter. Now, having said that inter, there has been a lot of positive development which has happened, because one thing which the industry was looking at it, who will verify the captive status of ISTS plant. So for that, CRC has been appointed, and there has been mandate for the captive verification will be done by CRC. Okay. But the second important point is the series of approval that you need to take. Okay. So obviously you are generating at one state, you are the consumers can be in multiple states. So you have to take multiple level of approvals with various states. Okay. So there has to, in fact, if a clarity can be given, what are the sets of approval that are required? Okay. And then states can come up, okay, we are absolutely fine with ISTS plant. It gives a lot of comfort to the developer and to the consumer, because you don't want to get into a situation where you put in 200, 300 megawatt of plant, you have signed PPAs, and when it comes to actual physical power delivery, you are not getting approvals and your capacity gets stranded. Okay. So that list of approvals becomes very important. As Nikhil mentioned about the ISTS transmission waiver, as we speak, it is June 25. If at all there can be a clarification, no, it will be till June 25. It is not getting extended. The life is sorted. But the point is, if you actually look at the substations also, most of the substations are under construction stage, which may come up Some of them are commissioned, some are under construction, some are under conceptual stage. So if at all that waiver can be given for a specific timeline, so it will give comfort for developers to put in their capital for the substations which are under construction also, which we anticipate will come by end of 2026. So if that waiver thing can be clarified, although government has given till June 25, there will be 100% waiver, and then the waiver gets reduced on a percentage basis. So yeah, so there is a clarity, but there have been a lot of discussion happening whether it can be blanket approval can be given for the exemption. So if that happens, it will be good for the industry because adoption is happening. Yeah, so that's it.
There's certainly a case for extension because there was a long delay between the MOP announcement of the waiver and actual operationalization by CERC. So, but it remains to be seen whether the government actually extends it or not. Kiran, in terms of geographical expand of open access consumers, ISTS will open up new markets. We have seen Jharkhand, for example, a large deal, ISTS deal coming up. Which new markets in terms of consumption do you see opening up very quickly?
I see Orissa as one of the large, steel market, and also Chhattisgarh for some, but Chhattisgarh has a banking facility, within the state. So ISTS may not be a market for Chhattisgarh. I see Orissa, West Bengal, and maybe Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat as the emerging markets for ISTS. Yeah.
We have just 1 minute. If any of the audience members want to ask a question from our panelists. Sure.
Hi everyone, thank you for that insightful talk. So I'm a new developer. I'm based out of Jamshedpur, Jharkhand, and pleased to know that Jharkhand is having this ISTS right now. I'll maybe delve into it. But my question is, I generally work on small projects, 100 to 300 kilowatts. Mostly customers are commercial because that's where the money is. And my question is that I get a general sort of requirement that the client wants on written on an agreement that this is the minimum generation capacity that will be assured. Minimum this much units will be generated. So is that something which you have been hearing for a couple of years, or is it something that I'm facing right now because I'm new to this?
Any one of you would like to?
So yeah, this has been a practice. So it is not that you are hearing for the first time. Since 2008, when we were doing rooftop installation, that was the minimum requirement, because for the customer, the important thing is how he's going to calculate his payback. So until unless there is a minimum generation guarantee, although from the developer point of view, we are guaranteeing sun to him, because anyhow, it's not only about the system integration that we do, we are also guaranteeing the GHI. So for that specific point, what usually the industry practice is, you do a P50 estimate of PV system, and maybe on that P50 you give a P90 or a P95 number as the guaranteed number. So that will actually help you in reducing your risk and also giving a comfort to the customer. It's not that we are not guaranteeing about the system that we have installed, but we are just trying to take a cushion of the external factors which are not under our control. So it's a industry practice.
Right, so thank you so much for that.
We have another time for another question, please. Go ahead.
So the panel touched upon the excess generation, the ISTS arena, and how it can be solved by selling over the merchant. While I've also seen that a lot of solutions, the hybrid solutions, are coming in the intrastate periphery as well. So I understand that this is like my understanding, probably you can correct in case it's a kind of a viable solution, but I understand that selling the excess power over the merchant in the intrastate doesn't make much of a commercial sense, and not even that 2 rupees kind of an equation will fit in. So how the developers are solving this kind of, or offering the solutions to the customers, the hybrid solutions, the larger CO solutions, under the intrastate periphery, and how are the assumptions there in terms of how much loss we are taking in terms of curtailment? Is it 10%, 20%? What are your financial assumptions there? And
Should I take?
Yeah. So I could not hear the entire question, but
so
to some
like,
extent I understand how is it
so
implemented in the intrastate.
Yeah, so the question in short is how is the excess power being handled in the intrastate kind of a high CUF solution?
So generally in an intrastate transaction, there is the banking facility, right? So considering the banking facility, the design of the project is done in such a way that, there is no such scenario of surplus power getting, generated. Like, the design is such a way that it meets the customer's requirement as per their demand. So, and that too not to the 100%, to maximum 80 to 85% of the customer's requirement. So the design is such.
Transmission and all, that the evacuation capacity, doesn't that play a constraint? Because I understand there are certain regulations, certain state, which also speaks about that how much evacuation capacity you can log versus how much the RE you're putting at the back end for supporting that kind of a high CUF solutions. With so many developers coming in Gujarat and the Karnataka offering all those high CUF solutions.
Oh, so you're talking about the hybrid co-located.
I'm talking about the hybrid
co-located hybrid project.
Intrastate project.
Yeah. So see, again, the design is critical over there. When you have a co-located wind solar hybrid project, so you get a fixed capacity of megawatts to be transmitted from that common infrastructure for both solar and wind. So you have to plan that solar and wind capacity in such a way that it does not exceed more than 1% of the energy getting clipped off on an overall basis. Otherwise, it's a commercial impact on the project in totality. So that is definitely very well taken care during the designing of the project only. So customer doesn't have to, be worried about, what is the constraint happening at the generation end. So he can contract, the developers are smart enough to structure the transaction in such a way that, the surplus energy is, or the clipped energy is almost close to not more than 1%.
I think we are completely out of time. I would like to thank the panelists, Naresh, Shri Prakash and Kiran. Thank you so much for this excellent discussion.
Thank you.
So kindly be seated, please. Everybody kindly stay seated. Can we have applauses? Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you to all the gentlemen, to our panelists, to our moderator for such a flawless session. Now it's time to honor and acknowledge them. To honor our panelists, I would like to request to none another, our moderator, Mr. Mridul Chadha, to kindly stand up. First, we have none another. Can you all together give a huge round of applause for Mr. Shri Prakashrai? Can we have applauses? Come on, ladies and gentlemen, all together. Thank you, sir, for taking out your precious time once again. Now, next we have Mr. Kiran Perka. Can we have applauses for Mr. Kiran, please? Thank you, sir, for being with us, for conducting it flawlessly. Now, next we have Mr. Naresh Baluja. Can we have applauses for Mr. Naresh? Everybody, come on, all together. And I'll be presenting memento to our moderator. Can you all together give a huge round of applause for Mr. Mridul Chadha? Everybody, come on.